I mean, bro, like Man City this season, right? They've lost 9 games in the Prem and drawn 7. So 16 games they've dropped points. That is like a crisis for Pep, like madness. They're 6 points behind us, bro.
Yeah.
We've still got to play Newcastle, who beat us every time we play them. We've got Liverpool at Anfield, who are having the time of their life. Our motivation will probably be gone for that game anyway, and we've got to give them a guard of honour. Bournemouth's a tricky game. You know, we lost to them away, right, when Saliba got sent off. And well, we've got Southampton, which is obviously a nice one. Everybody batters Southampton, but it's just the season. The season has kind of. I think the whole club have got to look at themselves for this season. If we don't win that Champions League, listen, if we win the Champions League, I don't care what anybody else wins. We'll be on top of the world. I don't care what anyone wins. We've won the biggest. But at the moment, let's be honest, we to go and beat PSG. PSG are. You look at that PSG project and you think they went the Galacticos route and tried to just buy the biggest names. They got Messi, Neymar, Suarez. Cool. Got to a Champions League final, but it didn't work. They've broke that whole thing down, got hardly any money for those three as well. They've rebuilt and look at that team. I looked at their team the other night and I thought, listen, I know we've got players missing and things like that, Gabriel and Partey, but I looked at their team and I thought, Kvaratskhelia, a player that me and you have said for months and months and months we should have bought. They didn't have a striker because Mawani wasn't good enough. Ramos isn't good enough. They moved Dembele up top. He's a revelation. They're talking about Ballon d'Or if they win the Champions League. They've signed Doué, young player. They got Vitinha while we went and bought Fabio Vieira. They got Fabian Ruiz, who didn't cost that much money either. João Neves, a top young player. And you look at their team and you think there's no PR. There's no, Arteta putting out that video before the game, bring your boots and your shin pads. So how about you make some substitutions, mate? Do you know what I mean? Don't tell us to bring our football boots. You bring your tactics board with you because you look like you forgot how to change that game. He spent most of the game telling the fans to make more noise and flinging his
Oh,
arms up. Why is it Arsenal have to do PR videos, merch drops, dogs walking around the training ground, documentaries, everything but actually winning the game and just handling business? Luis Enrique wasn't flinging his arms up saying make noise, putting out inspirational videos, tifos that look like bed sheets from Sports Direct. You know what I mean? They just turned up and said, we're going to handle business on the pitch. We don't need all that PR. And they're under as much pressure as us, by the way. They've never won the Champions League. They've spent a lot of money and it hasn't happened. So I think with Arsenal, it's just I said it before, just when Arsenal give you that hope that they're going to achieve something great and you start to believe in it, they let you down. And I'll be honest, Dan, I don't know how you felt in the community, but I felt let down at the end of that game against PSG because when we lose, it's like we don't lose swinging. I think if you have a fight with somebody and they knock you out, just say, listen, man, I lost the fight, but I landed one. You know what I mean? Yeah, I landed one. I feel like we kind of just go out with a whimper and it felt too easy for them to come to our ground and dictate the game, and the fans were louder than us. It felt like as a club, we weren't ready for that game collectively. At the top of the club, they're saying we're going to get the TIFO, we're going to do all this. You mess that up. I'm not saying the TIFO affects the performance, but that's just what they had the opportunity of doing. The manager puts out a cringe-worthy video that doesn't inspire anybody. And I think the fans, Dan, because I think match going fans have a responsibility to lift the players. If we're in our house, in our front room watching the game, we can say whatever. The players aren't going to be affected by that. I think when you're a player and you got, 58,000 Arsenal fans and 2,000 PSG fans, those fans do have a responsibility to go, listen, I'm disappointed. You've knocked the stuffing out of us with that goal. We're going to try our best to lift you up. I know people that paid £400-500 for a ticket the other day. What's the point paying £400 and then sitting there in silence for 95 minutes? You know what I mean? You're there to lift that group and try and help them. And after the game, if they haven't performed, criticize them, say whatever you want. I just looked at the whole thing and thought, we don't feel like we're ready. to get past this stage. It feels like we're going to pat each other on the back, say, well done, Champions League semi-final, you finished second, but where's that drive and determination from the whole club? It's like too many other things are happening. So I know I'm going on a bit here, but it felt to me like PSG, there was no videos. They turned up, their fans sung their heart out, the players handled their business, and they flew back home while we were kind of doing everything else but actually performing on the pitch. And then the team selection and the tactics are just an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. And I'll be honest, people, and I've said it already on Twitter. We go out on Wednesday. That is me 100% completely done with this manager. And I've never been this guy's biggest fan anyway. But seeing that Champions League run, I said, yo, you got to fall back. You can't be talking madness about the manager when he could achieve something special. And he still could. So I'm still not going crazy. But the same problems that we always talk about with Arteta, they always come back to the surface. When we are in the biggest of moments, when has this guy tactically dragged a game back in Arsenal's favour and won it? If plan A works, Arteta looks like a genius. It worked against Real Madrid. This is my setup. They can't deal with us. We win the game 5-1 on aggregate. Cool. Deserves his flowers. That's unbelievable. Against Man City, you battered them 5-1 as well. Amazing. Deserves your flowers. Against Villarreal in the semi-final when we're struggling, did you turn that game around? No, you couldn't do it. Aston Villa last season at home. Could you change that game? Did you do anything to swing it in our favour? You couldn't do it. And the other night, I just saw a guy sit there, tell the fans to make more noise, made no changes, and nothing happened. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say Mikel Merino's been a revelation up front. How about I play him up front in the biggest game of the season? And even if you don't start him there, why don't you change it? He has a goal disallowed from a set piece. That should have been the warning sign. Stuart, Parisian Londoner, he come on AFTV the other day, said the weakness of PSG is set pieces and crosses. Their centre backs are not that good in the air. And he said, you've just put Trossard up against them for 90 minutes. You've made life easy for them. You didn't even exploit their weakness. And now it's a rescue mission. And now we're acting like, oh, no, yeah, but Thomas Partey's back. Thomas Partey's a very good player, Dan. But he ain't Zinedine Zidane. He ain't Ronaldinho. Like, I'm not expecting Partey to dribble past 4 and put it in the top corner. So it's just disappointing because I don't think it needed to be how it went on Tuesday. I think we should have at least got out of there with a draw. And we got a difficult Wednesday night. Very difficult.
Look, man, the reason I like that monologue is because I'm about to go on one and I'm going to bring up a few points that you haven't, right?
Yeah.
Because I personally believe that everything you've said has been spot on since the minute you started talking on this show. There's other things I want to bring up about the game the other night that frustrated me. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out some of the excuses I've heard, right? And I'm going to nullify why that people are talking absolute nonsense, in my opinion, right? Let's talk about the atmosphere, the crowd, and the tifo. As much as it wasn't really what I wanted to see, that is not the reason we did not beat PSG.
Yeah.
The reason we did not beat PSG is not because someone hung a shower curtain up in the ground, right? That is not one of the reasons why we did not beat PSG. As much as it's embarrassing, and whoever put that together needs to be sacked and not come back to the stadium for a long time, that is not the reason that we did not beat PSG, right? So that was disappointing to see that it was like gone from plastic bags, which people questioned anyway, but at least look pretty good, to a flag that someone's hung up that looks like, I mean, let's just not even go there, right?
Yeah.
The cringy video is not the reason that we lost PSG against PSG, even though it's cringe and we shouldn't need to do that to get people up for a game. But that's up to Mikel what he wants to do. The fans in the atmosphere, in my opinion, it was quite good where I was sitting. I've said this on quite a few streams. Where I sit, I'm very lucky. I'm in the Red Action North Bank, so we never sit down. We're always up screaming and shouting. The rest of the stadium, from what I'm hearing on watch-alongs and working from home, you could only hear PSG fans. That's what I'm being told. Now, I couldn't because I'm surrounded by hundreds of people that are screaming about Arsenal. So it's very hard for me to say that was a horrendous atmosphere. It wasn't where I was sitting, but perhaps the rest of the stadium it was. Okay? But in my opinion, that's not the reason that we lost to PSG still. The other reason that I don't think we've lost to PSG is that the manager couldn't do anything. He's got no other options. This is the one that I do not understand where fans are. I do not understand how no one could see what he could have changed. Now, I said this to judges, and I'll say it again. I've got no problem with him starting with that lineup. I thought it was going to be that team. It didn't shock me when it come out. I didn't go,
Yeah.
oh my God, Marino's back in midfield and Trossard. I knew it was going to be that, right? Wouldn't have gone with that personally, but I'm not the
Mm.
manager. So he goes with that. I would have had no problem, see, right? If he would have said after 25 minutes even or 60 minutes, we're getting dominated in midfield here. I've got to change this up. I'm going to bring Lewis Skelly in. I'm going to bring on Zinchenko. Tini can come on at left back. Let's put Marino back up top. And do you know what? If he still would have lost 1-0, I'd have gone, I think we were just beaten on the day. Mikel tried to change everything. Fair play. We've got to go and beat him in Paris. And I genuinely would have thought that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this guy has done nothing of the sort. He is sat there, stubborn as he always is, believing it was going to get better, believing don't change anything, we'll get there eventually. I can't believe that I'm going to have to say that I'm wrong. I can't drop this guy. I can't bring him off. I don't want Marino to go back up top because Trossard's been scoring. We can't be bringing on Ethan. He's not good enough off the ball. He's too young for the occasion. All this stuff was now ticking off, going, yeah, you don't trust him. You don't trust them. You don't trust them. So when people use the excuse that Mikel couldn't have done nothing, I can give you loads of examples of stuff that we can do. Now, let me
Yeah.
not even give you the examples of stuff he could have done. Let me take it one step further. Let me look at that bench and let me ask the question, who's responsible for that bench? Arsenal Football Club are responsible for that bench. Forget injuries, because there's only Gabriel that's out right now and Partey who's suspended that get anywhere near the first 11. Because Havertz and Jesus and Tommy Asu are the only other three that are injured, and nobody seems to want them in the first 11 from who I speak to generically as fans, right? So the common
Mm.
consensus is that we're missing Thomas Partey through suspension and Gabriel, who everyone tells me Kivio has been unbelievable. So really, it's not a weak Arsenal side is my point. But then you look to the bench and you think, right, as much as I don't particularly like some of these players, and I haven't heard of 3 or 4 of them warming up, the problem there is down to the club. Transfer
Yeah.
window, summer, January, which he's got a massive part to play with because we're told that Mikel Arteta signs off transfers and has the last say. That might change now Berta's come in, but for what we've been told in the last 2, Arteta was massively involved, right? So he's
Yeah.
definitely taking an L there. And then you look at it and you think, hang on a minute. I'm seeing comparisons to last 2 seasons here. And I'll tell you what the comparisons are. We're playing our number 8 as a number 9 again this season. We did it last year with Havertz. We're doing it
Yeah.
again with now Mikel Marino because this guy refuses for whatever reason to buy a striker. So we're now playing our attacking number 8s there. And for the only time that I've seen, he has played in the 8, which is apparently his position, this Marino.
Mm.
Similarly to when we went out to Bayern Munich and Aston Villa last season, when he dropped Kai Havertz back into midfield, he's now done it again with Marino. Same as last year mistakes.
Yeah.
Then what he's done last year is he's gone, I don't really trust some of this bench. I don't really believe in Fabio Vieira. I don't really believe in Reece Nelson. And there's some other players at the back last season we had that have now gone since then as well. Now he's looking at the bench. He doesn't trust Kieran Tierney. He doesn't trust Zinchenko. He doesn't trust Raheem Sterling. So what the fucking hell are they still doing here then? If you're
Yeah.
not going to bring them on in a semi-final, why are they on the bench? You might as well just bring 3 more youth kids up because there's no point. You might as well save the money. So last season he didn't trust Nelson. This season he doesn't trust Sterling. Both of them were his decision. He put one of them on 100k a week. The other one he brought in
Yeah.
on loan and said within 10 minutes I knew that he was right for me. But all of a sudden he doesn't bring him on. Fabi Vieira last season sat there, £38 million signing. 21-year-old who's got the most assists in Portugal, and he's the one that he wanted over Vitinha, by the way, the one who's balling it out of the carpet on our pitch.
Yeah.
There's so many errors, Curtis, that I see that are consistent with this guy in the last 2-3 seasons that are now happening again. And he sat there and did nothing other than wait for Timber to get injured to bring on White and wait for Ethan to get ready on 89th minute. Now, I wouldn't do this if I'm a professional footballer, but I would have no qualms with him turning around, rolling his eyes and going, you're seriously going to bring me on in 89 minutes now? While our captain has been stinking it out, which we'll come on to, by the way. Ethan
Yeah.
Waneri comes on at 89 minutes. What? To try and get us back in the game with 6 minutes to go. So when I look at the amount of errors that I'm seeing consistently from Mikel and the excuses that some of our fans are making, rather than blaming us over him. Oh, it's the fans. Oh, it's the tifo. Oh, it's the fact the atmosphere was crap. Oh, it's the fact that he's got injuries. He can't do anything. Oh, there was no options for him. Hang on a minute. No. Look at what the problem was. We're not out, by the way, and we might go
Yeah.
through, and I hope we bloody do. But come on, man. Just say it how it is. I don't know why our fans are so against this, Curtis. It's like you can't say it. He's the last person to blame. Everybody else's fault, even us. We're to blame more. The dogs to blame more. The merchandise are to blame more. The vases we made the other month are to blame more. But this guy, protect him at all costs.